Welcome to Mastermind Institute. This is Chemistry 1000 stroke 1010 Standard Lab Report Writing. So it will cover everything starting from title up to all the way to the conclusion of a lab report. So what do you expect? A lab report. So a lab report shows all records, right? It will show all records of data measured. So it will show all records of data measured, observations, and comments of the experiment. So now each lab, definitely upon performing the lab or an experiment, you are expected now to give the detailed information of what you observed, the data that you collected, and if you did any calculation, we need to have that report of what you obtained, because for you to do the lab, it means there's something that you were doing in that experiment. Therefore, this lab report will give us the exactly information that we need to know. Even a lame person who was not in the lab must be able to know exactly what you as the lab technician or as a student did in that lab. So a lab report has important sections that we are going to cover in this video. So sections, let's look at sections of this lab report, sections of a lab report, sections of a lab report. So first thing first, number one, you should write the title. So you have, as I explained earlier, you are going to be given what we are calling as a lab manual. So a lab manual shows all the experiment that you are expected to do. So in each lab manual, if you are doing experiment 1, it will have the title. So you just have to copy exactly title which is in the lab. So this one, the title is obtained. So you are going to obtain the title from a lab manual. So usually you are going to be told the title, and it should be written. So it should be written in capital letters. So this one must be written in capital letters. Number 2, after writing the title, you are going to write the M. Okay, so what is the M? So this is just the description of the purpose of the experiment. Like, why are you doing that experiment? What are you trying to achieve at the end of the day? So this is basically the description of the purpose of the experiment. Why are you doing that experiment? So usually you can give an example. If at all you are trying to find the molar mass of the unknown substance, you can say to determine the molar mass of the unknown. So this becomes our what? It automatically becomes our aim of this experiment. So the aim of this experiment is to determine the molar mass of the unknown substance. So it is usually written in small letters. Okay, it should be written in small letters, and it should just be a short sentence or statement. It has to be very short, just like I have given an example here where I'm saying to determine the molar mass of the unknown. So that becomes our aim of the experiment. And then number 3. So number 3, you are going to have what we call, after aim, you are going to have the introduction, sometimes this is known as the theory. So you are going to have the introduction or the theory. So now this section describes the principle, okay, or the background of that experiment. Okay, so this is now where you give definitions, if there is any definition. For example, if you are talking about rate of chemical reactions, you're trying to consider rate of chemical reaction. So it is at this point where now you can define what rate of chemical reactions is and any other information that is needed on that particular experiment. So now if the reaction has some equations or chemical formulas or formulas to determine whatever you're calculating, it is at this point where you need to show the equations involved, or if there is any formula, it is at this point where you have to indicate that formula. So this can be in a paragraph form, or just have to make it summary. It doesn't have to be too long. Again, it has to be as simple as possible, but you just have to ensure that everything is catered for. So we are saying it describes okay, the principle. It describes the principle on which the experiment is based, on which the experiment is based. So it describes the purpose of the principle on which this experiment is based. So it is very important that at this point equations must be shown on this section. So all equations that you have must be shown on this section, right? So number 4, the fourth section is so after you do the introduction, you can now write down the apparatus stroke reagents. So now on this section, now you're going to list down all the apparatus that you're expected to use, as well as the reagents, the chemicals that are involved in this experiment. You just have to list them down on this section, and then after that you can proceed to what we are calling as the procedure. So the fifth part is the procedure. So in some books they call this as the method or the procedure. So now this procedure, it outlines how the experiment was performed. So you are going to write down how this experiment was performed from the start to finish. So it shows how the experiment was performed. It shows how the experiment was performed, and it is written in past tense. It is written in past tense. So this one is written in past tense. Okay. So sometimes the procedure can be the same as it is given in the lab manual, or if there is any changes, you have to take note of those changes. Common things that changes in the procedure basically are the concentrations. So the concentration might change, and some things might be done for you by the lab technician, so you can start at a certain level. So this procedure, you just write the procedure of what you did in that given experiment. Now you don't have to avoid, so you have to avoid words like I, we. These words do not include yourself. Like I added, e.g. you can't say I added. You can't say I added. This is wrong. You can't say I added, but instead you just have to start by saying, if it is 2 ml which was added to a certain beaker, you just say 2 ml of sodium hydroxide, for example, was added to the beaker. Okay, so you just have to go straight to the point. You don't have to add we, I, they did this. No. So you avoid those words. And then the sixth stage is the results analysis, or you call this as, before you do data analysis, we have what we call data collection. So now at this stage, under data collection, this is usually a table. Okay, it is usually a table. So data collection, now this is where you write the data that you are obtaining from the experiment you are performing. you have to write it down under data collection. So you are going to be informed what kind of data are you collecting. Are you collecting volumes? Are you collecting time? Whatever you are collecting, you'll be given maybe the demonstrator will actually tell you how we want that data to be. So you have to collect data based on that. Okay.